Party people, no place to be, vandals, and all the other lesser known people out there. This is a brand new, lesser known episode of How Did We Get Here, featuring a really, really cool creator and runner of a label. I'm going to let him introduce himself and kind of explain who he is and what he does. But I mean, this guy is really, really cool, and the stuff that he does for the scene is really, really rad. So, hello, Mark. How are you?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it. Glad, long time listener, first time guest. Um, so, no, I really appreciate what you guys do for the scene. Everybody, David and Pat and those guys all speak highly of you.
Yeah, we've had quite a few guys on.
Yeah.
Yeah, good books, doing good things. Yeah, so uh, we got a lot of guys that we're friends with that come on the show that have some working relationships with you, and lesser known. I don't know if whoever's tuning in or listening, if they don't know lesser known. Well, Mark, this is something you started. If you read, you always put it at the end. What your how would you say that? What your business plan or your goals are, and
Yeah.
basically, yeah, you just started this out just because you're looking for illustrators and stuff like that, and you want to build like maybe a community where you could help each other out, and that's what spawned lesser known, was you searching out talent to help you out to get some books made, right?
Yeah, so I started out, during quarantine. My wife gave me permission to make one comic, and it got way out of control from that. I started working with concept artists, and they were telling, and my intention was to pick one, but I just fell in love with all of them, and I was like, guess what? We're making a bunch of comic books, and so they're posting their stuff on Instagram, right? And all the artwork they were doing, and the people came and approached me and they said, hey, while you're doing that, can you help me, publish my book, and then some of the illustrators were like, hey, I have my own stuff. Would you, be interested in helping me get that? So, I didn't know how much work this all was. It's like that lady that like adopted too many cats, just like now there's just so much stuff, right? Totally was unprepared for it. Um, but in the process, like a lot of folks were telling me, what it's like for an illustrator out there and what it's like for creatives out there, and kind of just like the inhumane treatment. So we said, okay, well, what if we try and rally around the ethos of treating artists like humans, and art before profit. A lot of stuff that kind of comes naturally, like within like the punk scene, like Fat Mike from NoFX has a great quote. He said like, we don't do this for money. We did, no effects for 8 years and didn't make any money. Money doesn't bring happiness. Helping others is what really is going to sustain people in the long run. So, as a company, we operate much like a collective, and that's the metrics that we care about. So we actually have like a full like thing that we track in terms of like what it means to treat artists like humans. Are they being dealt with fairly? Are they dealt with kindly? Do they have intellectual, psychological safe space to like talk about their ideas? Is what we're doing as a collective like have a purpose and meaning for them? And then at the end of the day too, like that integrity is like has to be, you know, um, across the board, so that everybody in this group of creators know that the way we talk about them when they're not in the room is the same way we talk about them when they're in the room, you know. And if we create that climate, then I can just get out of their way and just let them be successful. Um, you know, what's been really cool in the last year is there's like I probably only see 10% of what lesser known comics is making. Like in terms of like the day to day grind of everything that's going on.
Mhm.
It was funny, the book that launched today, Deuces Are Wild, we saw one of the letterer credits and I talked to the creator and I was like, Reese, who's this letterer? Like he's like, I don't know. I thought you knew who this letterer was. And what we didn't know was one of our letterers was so busy that he, subcontracted and brought a new letterer on board. And I was like, that's so cool that like this community just growing every day, and like people that we didn't know are just like showing up and they're just grabbing an oar and just doing this thing, like, and helping us row. So, that's kind of who we've become in the last like 3 years.
That's cool, man. So, like we said, we've had quite a few guys on. The first time I heard about Lesser Known was through Chris Tights, because Adrian, and Pat were running Kickstarters at the same time. They were kind of helping each other out. And then, like you said, when we're off air, Chris reached out and kind of got in touch with you and see if you'd be interested in partnering up and making some books together. So that's kind of how I first started seeing Lesser Known comics pop up on Kickstarter, because all your books are funded through Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, for the most part, we're starting to get to the point where books are paid for ahead of time, because we have a lot of confidence that the Kickstarter is going to perform what it needs to. So like Wastelands, all those books have been ordered, even though the campaign hasn't closed. We're getting pretty good after today was our 19th campaign. So I'm getting pretty good at projecting what numbers can be. But yeah, Kickstarter is typically the first step. It's interesting what it's become in the indie space. It's both a means to get your book out and a marketplace in of itself. So I assume that eventually we'll grow out of the necessity for Kickstarter, but probably would continue to do Kickstarters to like have, some sort of reach into that marketplace. We're working with Kickstarter on that, because our next move is to move to like a pre-sale system as well, where, we're not wholly dependent on Kickstarter, but, that we can still use it.
At the moment, we were talking before, and you have 3 campaigns running at the moment, right? Lesser Known?
Yes.
You
That's
have
correct.
Bigfoot Knows Karate. Is this a one-shot, this Bigfoot Knows Karate? Because I know there is a regular series, and this is what's the title again?
It's Bigfoot Knows Karate Hinagon, which is
Hinagon.
The Japanese word for Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Typically it's all illustrated by Dan Price, who created Bigfoot Knows Karate, but this one is illustrated by a guy named Adam Caswell, who's just insanely talented dude. So all black and white, but like the detail is like nothing I've seen in a comic in a while. So Dan, while he's working on his regular story arc for Bigfoot Knows Karate, he's starting to give out one-shot, scripts, him and his writer Casey Allen to folks, and Adam Caswell's the first one.
That Kickstarter has 9 days left, and it's fully funded with 9 days left, so that's good. Let's see, what else do you have here? We have
Wasteland.
One that caught this one caught my eye right away when I saw it, was Wastelands. What can you tell us about this one? I love the art in this. I mean, that's what really caught my eye right off the bat was the artwork in this one.
Yeah, so I got a proof here. So Ray, who does Wastelands, he did a bunch of stuff with me to kind of test out his skills. But it's a cyberpunk spaghetti western. He uses a lot of screen tones. It's kind of like, if Mignola started doing like some cyberpunk stuff. Actually, our buddy Max Flowers, who runs Rat Brain Zine with his partner Milo, did this variant cover for it. So this is one of the variant covers that's available on it. But yeah, that one, first time creator, and the thing that makes me like want to stay up late and work and wake up early and work on all this stuff is he was texting me like launch day. He's like, I can't believe people are buying my book. Like like he's like so incredulous about it, right? And just like catching that excitement is like, just the best feeling, and seeing people, in the crew like rally around, that, seeing them make variant covers for each other, and like just watching the genuine, like them being like, oh crap, you made this, like, because most of them are doing variant covers for each other on trade within the lesser known comics. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, you need one, I'll do one, right? Like I'm here for you. That's how I can support.
So
all three of those books, we got the links in the description, and I just posted them in the chat for anybody that wants to check these out. All three look really rad. I'm actually really hyped for Deuces Are Wild. That book looks really, really rad.
Yeah. Thank you for that. The illustrator, let's see if I have it. So Reese Jenkins, he did he just showed up one day and was like, hey, I made some fan art for one of my books, Either Them or Us, and I probably don't have it with me.
I could pull up the Kickstarter if you want me to, if you want to show anything that's on the page.
Oh yeah, if you see the variant cover, so he did the variant cover for that, which I just wanted something iconic, movie, thing. But actually, I didn't even know what I wanted until he showed me this as a piece of fan art. So we adapted it into the cover. But yeah, and so a lot of times people approach me. They don't really, as first time creators, it's like, hey, let's get you into the variant cover space. Let's get you to the anthology space, short stories and things like that, and then you can use that as a warm start to your opus, and his opus being that Deuces Are Wild, which is just Saturday morning cartoon, but if it was directed by John Woo or something like that, it's very it's got that Saturday morning humor, but it's also got that bang bang shoot 'em up kind of feel. And I just don't know a lot of artists that are making stuff that look like his. We see that kind of art out there, but yeah, that was the Either Them or Us cover he did for my book, and then he also has the Tank McGregor variant cover he did for Cosmic Colossus. So there's a Reese Jenkins collection that has his gallery book. It's got the variant cover versions of some other books that he did, Tank McGregor, Either Them or Us, which is a cool cross promotion way that we kind of do stuff. But yeah, the book's done. We're just in final edits because he had some interesting things storytelling wise with jokes of people speaking foreign languages and stuff like that. So when someone explains a story to you and then you read it, but then you're like, I need to make sure that this is going to make sense to the reader. So a lot of the folks we were doing that final editing with, but yeah, it's I'm stoked for that one. I know he's done with number 2 as well, or at least he's pretty far along on it.
Nice. And another book that I recently, I think it just got sent out a week ago or 2 weeks ago. The digital version was the Apollo City and Out Come the Comics. That's the anthology that you teamed up with Apollo Comics, Lesser Known Comics, and Apollo City Comics. So that one, I was anxious to get that one. That's one I backed a little while back, and I was like, yeah, and it's got a great roster of talent on there working on these short stories for this anthology. So yeah, it was a fun read. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, our boy Dylan with Big Fucking Sword was really fun.
I've never seen anybody like the group chat for that anthology. And it should have been obvious, right? Because there's this culture and this ethos around punk rock culture that people showed up the same way that we all show up to a mosh pit, we know what we're supposed to do, so they just showed up, and that anthology just worked so much, and it set the expectations really high, because you can make an anthology, you can make a vampire anthology or this, but there's not really that value system around other stuff the same way around punk rock and stuff like that. So I've never seen a group of people just be so outright supportive to each other. But when Dylan dropped those pages for Big Fucking Sword, everyone was just like, what? This is the craziest, coolest shit I've ever seen.
You did a really rad short in there as well that ties your Deathwish series, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. The really cool part about that was, so I used to play music and recorded at the same studio as some of the folks that record, like from Fat Records and stuff like that. And there's a band called Lagwagon who uh, they they have a side project, Bad Astronaut, that they gave us permission to use like the lyrics in the song, for it. So there's a bunch of homages to like a lot of the bands and stuff like that in the Fat Records kind of family there, like snuck in all the artwork on that one. So that's a good reminder because I actually owe them copies of that book, so I gotta like ship them out that way
Yeah.
out to California.
Yeah. So you're busy with the company, but you also, like Johnny said, you had a short story in this anthology as well that was based on your book. Because I mean, you're not just hustling; you're actually creating as well. And Deathwish was, I really enjoyed it. Deathwish was a really fun read. Gave me a little bit like Tank Girl vibes, a little bit with a lot of the characters and just how out there and outrageous some of the stuff is. So yeah, it's definitely up my alley. I really enjoyed the Death Wish book, and it was really nice to see like when I opened that Apollo City and Out Come the Comics, when I saw you did another story, kind of an origin story of one of the characters. So I was really stoked to see that. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited for Death Wish. So yeah, Kieran Quinn, who's working on the next issue of Death Wish, which will be like full 22 pages. The he's we would do a lot of Marvel method. So it's a simple thing where it's we got these racing demolition derby type of crazy cars thing where every turn page reveal needs to be an explosion, needs to be like, oh, I can't believe they brought that weapon on the track, and you turn the page and the reveal of whatever crazy thing it is. And yeah, he's been amazing to work with. So sometime in 2024, I think actually April is when we're shooting to have the next issue of Death Wish out.
Issue. That's you're gonna go through Kickstarter as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Yeah. This is probably my favorite page I've seen in comic all week, man. I absolutely just love this page.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It almost feels like back in the day when you'd like those racing games on like video games where you have like their car, then you just have like their head pop up when they like do dialogue in the bottom, so you'd like, yeah, definitely.
Well, I just love, yeah, but the narrations, just the stuff that the characters are saying, and then you get down to the monkey and it's just
yeah. So I had growing up, I'm half Mexican, but I grew up in a family where so when my grandpa went to go buy his first house after the Korean War, like he's a vet, and he came back and had money in his pocket. He went to go buy a house in a pretty nice neighborhood, and they said, "No, this house is not for sale for you." So my dad's generation was like, "You don't speak Spanish," because we're going to be, assimilated into, being Americans, and whatnot. So I grew up in a heavy Hispanic area, and people just assumed I spoke Spanish, so they would talk, and they, so I had a lot of like lost in translation moments. So we do a lot of that stuff, even when I travel internationally and stuff like that. Like, we have many scenes where somebody's speaking untranslated, in one language, and we just, hey, if you speak that language, you're going to get something completely different from that scene than a reader who doesn't speak it, but it should still like translate, or you should be able to have fun or the same level of confusion as the rest of the characters, if you don't speak the language.
Yeah, but nowadays with the internet, people are just gonna Google Translate that shit real fast.
Yeah. Well, they'll be in for the joke then too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Now with the joys of technology, eh? People will be
Yeah.
taking a screenshot or something and go
You don't even
slapping
have
it.
to do that. Like I saw that like phones now, like you can do it with your camera. You just kind of like scroll over it with your camera and it'll like just direct trans. I don't think it's very good. Like I saw people on YouTube
Yeah.
trying it out and it came out pretty funny, like the results. But like it'll probably get pretty good in the near future. Maybe I don't know. Google Translate's not very good. Like I told you, like I try to translate those French comics that I bought on Amazon, and like it's just not working, Joe. You're gonna have to read them to me one of these days.
Yeah. Well, I'll do it one day. Or just
we have.
Yep.
I was gonna say we have one illustrator based out of Spain, and we'll speak on Google Meet, and it will translate what I'm saying to him in real time, you know, and then it doesn't work the other way though. so he'll have to type out his answers back to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird, yeah.
Is it pretty good though? Is it pretty effective?
Yeah, it seems to work. I mean, yeah, we've made a few comic books together, you know.
Oh, cool. Yeah. You have another book, Enter.
Either them or us.
Oh yeah, neither them or us. That's a samurai witch versus witch story.
Yeah,
was this your first one?
That was the first full length that I got.
Okay.
So I made 7 like of these short, somewhere between 5 and 10 page, you know, like ash cans. Mm-hmm. So, and actually Deathwish was one of those. And then I have another 5 of those coming out on Halloween, or we're going to launch on Halloween.
Okay.
So that'll put me at about 111 story pages outside of my full-length comics, but either them or us, it's in the same universe as all those short stories.
Okay.
And yeah, it's my first 22 pager that I was able to do. But sometime in 2024, we'll combine all those short stories into, we'll call it the incomplete history of the lesser known universe, that because they actually makes sense in a timeline, at least, you know, as much of I've made up so far.
And and if people missed out on the original Kickstarters when these were launched, the campaigns, they could just go on your site, lesserknowncomics.com, and you can pick up all these books on the site. I think you have physical and digital versions for everything. So, I mean, if something's sold out in a physical version, you can still pick up a digital copy. So, and I'm pretty sure all your books are all available there in one form or the other.
Yeah, we desperately are trying to get these books updated. So the website updated, because the amount of comics these guys are making is it's crushing me. It's a great problem to have. But like, to give you, we did 2 Kickstarter campaigns in 2021. We did 6 in 2022, and we're on to 11 for this year, with 4 or 5 more to go before the end of the year. 4 more to go before the end of the year. So that is uncharted territory for us, like in terms of like, you know, trying to like, you know, embrace the success without breaking the machine, you know, type of thing.
Like the logistics behind it, basically, like fulfillment, the printer, all that stuff. Yeah. Speaking of the printer, you guys do, all your books are printed through Wellspring, if I'm not mistaken, right? You do business with them?
Yeah. So there's certainly our preferred printer. In some cases, we'll have some folks that will have books with us. They'll have like maybe something like Treasury Edition, where they'll have like, you know, something that of a paper type or a hardcover or something that CWS doesn't you know, doesn't provide themselves. But they're a really good company, because what they'll do is they'll tell you straight up, you know, you tell them what you're trying to do, and if they're not the best printer for that, they'll let you know. But you know, 99 out of 100 times, they're, especially for first time creators, you know, people who are in the indie space, who are doing Kickstarters, doing the stuff like we do, they're going to be most of the time your solution for what you're trying to get done.
Cool. So you have the 3 Kickstarters running now, and we're talking off air, and I think you said you had another one launching next week
for Halloween.
Yeah.
Or for Halloween.
We have one every Tuesday between now and Halloween. So the 17th, the 24th, and then the 31st, with Pat O'Malley also having a book on the 28th, which I think is a Friday or might be
I'm not sure, but he sent me a DM. He mentioned it, that he had something dropping soon. He DM'd us to try to get something lined up. So
it's got a real cool. It was parkour dinosaurs. Jurassic parkour is what he had me at. It's like, yes, you wrote it. It's got dinosaurs. You got me. So there's Adrian.
Adrian's in the house. So is Spanky, one of our friends, dropped in the chats from the N Pod.
Awesome.
How's it going, guys?
Then Adrian's got one coming out with us next year too.
The Sitter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dylan just released that variant cover.
Yeah. They just dropped it on Instagram. You could go check that out. And you hinted at something, made a post this week where you said Adrian's involved in some other project with you guys. I don't know if you can elaborate on it. You hinted at it like he's helping you get some big things going, or I don't know if this is like teaming up for the SNFU Tales book, or I don't know what's going on there, or for the printing, or what's going on. But I remember you dropping something. I think it was yesterday. Or it was this morning. You wrote something, and you hinted at Adrian helping you guys out doing something interesting.
I don't know. We have so much good stuff. The ideas that come out of Adrian, Dylan, and Pat right now is pretty astounding. So
that's what it was. You mentioned Pat as well. That was the post on Instagram I was referring to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not sure what I'm allowed to refer to. But what I will say is that when Pat first approached me, like he was just like he was like, I don't know, would you be interested in doing something if Adrian and Dylan were involved? And I was like, yes, of course. Like that's the most ridiculous question, right? That's all I need to know about it. Like you could tell me like the most bananas pitch in the world, but if you guys are doing it, like I know it won't fail. Like it's pretty easy to say yes to that.
Yeah. Okay. It's regarding an anthology. Okay, I got you.
Oh yeah. So.
Yeah. Man, Adrian and Dylan are going to have their plates full, man. That's crazy. Adrian's he's going to be doing that Tick bootleg too. I mean, man, he's going to burn himself out before he even gets all these comics made.
I tell these guys, be careful, because what happened was, with like Apollo City, for example. So Brandon Blocksdorf, who put that thing together, in 2022, he kept talking about this cosmic punk rock love story that he was working on, but he didn't have any pages done. And I was like, dude, stop telling everybody about this book that hasn't. And I was like, if you really want to make this cosmic punk rock love story, you should put out a punk anthology a year before you release it, so that you can build a community, build an audience, build everything around that, which is still, I think, the best piece of advice I can give anybody. If you're making a zombie book, do a zombie, anthology a year before. If you're doing whatever, just whatever's on theme. And so he did that. And the reception and the community that was built around that, he got the same thing that happened to me, where everyone's like, can you help me get a book out? Can you help me get a book out? So he's helping put out 12 books in 2024 himself,
Okay.
So I tell all these folks, Adrian included and Dylan included, you be careful. Like you can hang out around this group, and then, next thing you know, you're going to have, work coming out of your ears. There's just so much stuff to do, and there's so much great ideas and so many great people to do them with. And it just kind of, you wake up one day, that's the, and then you're just like, where did all this come from?
But that's not a bad idea if you get multiple creators together who each have an idea of a book they want to make. But you do anthology style just to give everyone a tease of what that one book, once you get it made later, like into the full story. Like you just tease a little story, then it could be more affordable just to get that initial buzz out, like you said, to introduce people to it. So that's not a bad idea, because then like you can share costs, keep your costs lower because you're splitting it multiple ways, and you can get like the first tease out of your story without, get a book out there that people can buy and back. And so that's cool. I could see how that is definitely beneficial for all the people involved if they do that kind of approach.
Yeah, well, the big thing that I say, and we do talk about this a lot. So we have creator huddles every other Thursday with the lesser known comic creators. Not everyone attends because there's like 65 plus of us now that are making books with lesser known comics right now. But the biggest determining factor of success in any endeavor is community. If you surround yourself with people that actually give a shit whether or not you're going to be successful, then the rest kind of starts to take care of itself, and that's what's happening in anthology, right? You get this blood bond with other creators, right? And if you do it in a way that you guys do it respectful of each other, and you make sure that everything's win-win, and everyone's, realizing why they're there, and on the same page in that regard, you make friends for life in that one, and it's very, very cool. And the strength of the creators after they've done something like that, it's just through the roof.
On your site, there was another Kickstarter that's the pre-launch page is up. CyberSync, I believe it's called. Is that the book that I've seen David posting shots of? Is it for CyberSync where he did that? Is it for CyberSync, that one that
David won with? He's got two books he's working on right now. He's working on a short for CyberSync, but then he's also working on something having to do with time traveling and ninjas. But I'm not really sure because that one's with a separate publisher. But it looks dope. All I know is it's got ninjas and it looks dope. But CyberSync, is our cyberpunk anthology.
It's an anthology.
Yeah, and it's being produced. It'll be released under Apollo City, which basically lesser known comics. We operate like a collection of imprints, so Punch Publishing will have books with us. Moonlayer, who does our manga stuff, will have books with us. Apollo City, Rat Brain Zine. And then, that's put together by Alex Batts. He does some writing for CBR. He does some stuff like that, comic book review. But he's got same thing. He's got a cyberpunk book he's working on coming out a year from now. So he followed Brandon's path on that, and I think it'll work out really good for him.
Cool. Another pre-launch page. We just going down the list here because you have a lot of stuff going on, man. You have Autolus.
You nailed it. So that one's by a guy named Brandon DePillis. He's based out of Minnesota. So it's what is it, like Addams Family meets like, I'm not sure. It's very there's essentially, it's a little bit of slice of life where something is going to happen in this small family's house that is going to cause like a giant biological catastrophe. And so it has that slice of life feel while they're being monitored by this super secret covert spy agency that's got to go infiltrate this house and stop this thing from happening, and everything that Brandon does is he likes to take, you know, the everyday stuff and make it as morbid and fun and you know, whimsical as possible.
Okay. Because those are pre-launch pages, so you can sign up for CyberSync and Autolus. You could go sign up for the pre-launch page to be notified upon the campaign kicking off. So those are in pre-launch. So those are the things you have going at the moment on your page for the Kickstarters. And like I said, you have all your back catalog as well that people can go check out. Like some really fun books there. You have some stuff from David Lewan, who worked on Eureka, Nerida, and Duskwitch just finished their campaign up. What, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
That's another great looking book that looks pretty fun. So yeah, man, you guys are just
Popping off.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
you have, like you said, you have at least 2 campaigns almost a month. So
yeah, it's gonna. We have about we have a lot projected for 2024, where there may be a campaign a week very easily. So that's one of the reasons we're trying to develop our own pre-launch thing where people can bundle a lot of stuff, so that you know, because we understand that like backing Kickstarter after Kickstarter after Kickstarter, you know, can be exhausting. I know it's exhausting running Kickstarter after Kickstarter, you know. So having somebody to like be able to check in at the beginning of the month and just be like, oh, here's all the new releases, and just grab them all, only do one, you know, shipping cost and stuff like that, make it really easy.
Like some of those company do subscription boxes. Like once a month you get a box and they just send you all the new titles for that month, you know?
Yeah, we would love to do that, you know. So we'll probably, I think our plan is to make batch 5 the first one that we have available, like on the pre-sale, because that's predominantly my stuff. So if I'm going to make anything the guinea pig, I want to do it with mine, so that, you know, I don't do any creator a disservice. But yeah, it's really exciting, and I think something's happening in the scene where you know, the big thing with us is you know, we have no creators can leave at any point. You know, we actually encourage them, like, hey, if you're interested in going to a bigger publisher or something like that, like, shop those while you're with us. It's no problem. Like, we've had people go to Mad Cave or to other bigger publishers, you know, and like, that's great. You know, like, if that's what's best for your book, we'll be the first one to encourage it, you know, and then we'll make that transition really easy. And, you know, we're building the relationships with those publishers, because it's the best thing that could happen to us if we became a scouting ground for, you know, these publishers. And you know, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense in traditional business. Say, okay, well, but if they could leave anytime, you must have a huge like rollover rate of artists. Like, they must be leaving all the time. And it's like, no, like, we have, like, among other publishers, like, our retention rate is like astronomically higher than everybody else, you know, because it's just a fun party that nobody wants to leave, you know. The other part too is, you know, some of the other publishing situations can make it so that they can be restrictive in a creator's ability to earn outside of that publisher's channel, right? So we let people buy into our print runs at like a ridiculously low, you know, unit price, and then go sell that at conventions, go sell it on your own personal website. Just because it's on Lesser Known Comics doesn't mean you can't sell it on your own website, or sell it through other third-party platforms if you want, you know. That's your money. Like, that's 100%. It's nothing to do with us.
Kind of works like you said, kind of like a co-op where where you help each other out to like make it more cost efficient for everyone involved. And
yeah, totally. And you know, the other part that is kind of unconventional with us is that we pay mechanical royalties up front. So Joe, you say, hey, Mark, I want to make my book with you, and yada yada. And I say, yeah, that looks good, and I say, I'm just going to start with a low number, Joe. I'm going to print, 25 copies of your book that's going to be in the lesser known comics inventory. I'm going to give you $62.50 ahead of time. That's your royalties for the sales of those 25 books. And then when I'm done selling those, I'll come back and be like, hey, can I print more books? I'm going to give you additional money up front.
Okay.
That was just initially as a nature of bookkeeping, because I didn't want to if I just knew that everything was paid for up front, that works better. But it's also a big confidence builder, because we know people who have sold thousands and thousands of books through their publisher and they're still waiting on, royalty, so if we can give them the most amount of freedom and ownership of their IP, and give them the most latitude to stay or leave to whatever they think is in their best interest, then I think the goal's accomplished. I hope other publishers start copying us, because it's not like a business model I want to guard. What we want is we want the big ones to start investing in their creators and start treating them decently, and drive us out of business doing so. That would be victory,
Yeah. Good for all parties involved, basically.
Yeah.
I'm going to go off on something that you mentioned briefly before. Is you said you were in a band, like you were making music before previously. So what's that all about? Do you still are you still in a band? Are you still making music, or is lesser known kind of consumed your life these days? Or
no, I played music when I was high school age, and we were on an indie, a little indie record label, and right before we were going on Warped Tour, on the amped energy drink music stage or whatever, I remember it was that was the stage of I quit and I joined the Army, and I did the Army for close to 20 years.
Holy shit. Okay.
And then I got out, and my wife was like, cool, you're going to get a lucrative defense contracting gig or something like that, right? You're going to, bring home serious money. I was like, I'm thinking comic books. And she's like, you gotta be kidding me. But
what was the name of your band when you were, before you quit? What was the name of the band that you had going on the Warped Tour?
They were called the Slicks.
Okay.
And slicked hair, slick shoes, and
was it rockabilly punk, or
we were a punk ska band. They
punk
played with mostly
we
played with mostly hardcore bands. So I grew up playing some pretty rowdy shows, but we were the lightest act of the group that would always play. And then a lot of folks, still play professionally. That I grew up playing with. Our guitarist plays in a band called Lionheart that does really well in Eastern Europe. And then our drummer plays in a band called Waves that does really well. They're a surf punk, based up. Yeah. But they tour everywhere. And then occasionally we meet up in Nashville, and we'll play some bluegrass-ish music, under the name Cougar Ranch. So that was, but yeah, but for the most part, the music, the taking a back seat, to comic books. But it's still a passion. We actually on Dead or Still Dying, which comes out in, here it is. This one comes out in January. So this one I wrote with Jade Louder. Jade Louder has that punk rock werewolf.
Yes.
It's a horror show, and he was in the punk anthology as well.
Yeah.
So a band actually did a song, a song for this comic, a band called the Antibodies, and so we're actually going to have a 7-inch vinyl available as one of them.
Nice.
Yeah. So
One of the tiers.
we're pretty excited about that.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I saw you drop
we didn't
something.
even think it was possible until Adrian told us. He was like, "Oh, I know a place where you can get those made."
Oh, so you're gonna hook up with Adrian's guy?
Yeah.
Adrian said that dude gave him some gray hair, man. He said he's very like laid back, super hippie like he'll get back to you when he finds the time, man.
Yeah.
Like what's the rush, man?
Sounds like it.
So that's your next book that's coming out. That's next for you.
The next full length. Yeah. Dead and Still Dying. We printed out a couple for Baltimore Comic-Con. So yeah, this we'll probably have a couple of these as the variant cover that we'll have like as a limited tier. But it'll have a new cover. And actually Adrian did a variant cover for that. So it's a group of teenagers stumble across a witch, but she's on a drunken bender, and can they rehabilitate her in time to save the city from a looming crisis? So that's
So you're saying you're gonna have this at Baltimore Comic-Con? When is that? The comic convention in Baltimore?
We already had it. It was in September, so we had some advanced copies then. Yeah.
Oh, so some people already got like copies of this book already. That's pretty cool, then.
Yeah. So we're starting to do that a little bit more because as we get better at scheduling out and getting at conventions, we can print a few ahead of time, and then sometimes Kickstarter won't be the first place. It'll be that'll be the first place it was like available online or something, but maybe a convention was our test spot. That's we're trying out a lot of stuff that's a little like unconventional, like switching up how we do releases and things.
Well, that's kind of cool that you premiere a book at a comic convention like that. Like, I mean, like, especially like you said, you print out what, like 25, 30, 40, 50, depending on the size of the convention. I think that's a really cool thing, like where people will, this book right here, this is like exclusively to this con, and you won't be able to get the regular copies till, let's say, 6 months from now. That's a pretty cool, like, I don't know, I would definitely, for people that are collectors and stuff, that would definitely be like kind of an incentive or kind of a cool thing where you get, especially people that like to be on the the in crowd where I got it first like a year ago, like they get those like kind of bragging rights of getting on something before everyone else. So yeah,
we're starting to do these convention exclusives. So here's the one we did with Baltimore. So this is actually Comics Wellspring sponsored it. So you open this up and it's got a bunch of short stories. There's one from Dan Price, Bigfoot Knows Karate. There's an excerpt from Either Them or Us. It's a horror show. Kid Nebula, and I should just look, it's right on the cover. A Sidekick for Hire, Christian Herrera. But yeah, it was, because, and Tough Stuff, crime fighting cat that's addicted to cocaine. Gotta have that. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. I don't want to like sound like Bash Fest or whatever towards some of the bigger publishers, but a lot of the stuff that we're used to, right, where the con exclusives and the things like that used to be available, they're less common. They're only at San Diego, right? I'm trying to make more of those things at Houston Comic Palooza or Rose City in Portland or Emerald City in Seattle, in Baltimore, which is a great convention that doesn't get as much love as it deserves. It's such like a it's a great size convention for the city it's in.
Sorry, Johnny, we were talking at the same time before. I kind of cut you off.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Sorry about that, man. Yeah. Do you have any conventions lined up coming up soon?
We have our 2024 planning meeting in the beginning of November. So yeah, I actually sent the invite out to the whole group. And usually, like, you know, the amount of responses in the emails are usually like minimal, but like when it's like, hey, we're gonna talk conventions on this day, and I got like 1,000 responses. Like, okay, cool. These guys are excited to get out there and table. You know, I think a lot of the folks, especially all the first time creators that got books out for the first time this year, just like, we just can't wait to get out there. Also, we've gotten so big that, you know, we can coalesce around certain cities, right? So like if we do a convention in LA, it's easy for 6 to 8 of our creators to like show up and do that convention together, which is a totally different experience, right? Than like, you know, trying to drag out like your spouse or something like that to help like babysit this table and do it by yourself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, you got another one launching each week till Halloween. Which one is launching next week?
That's Autolus. So
Autolus will be launching next Tuesday.
Yeah, and there is a limited edition art print that was done by Brandon DePillis and Reese Jenkins. They did it together, so people back both those projects, they'll get that. They'll get that art print, which is cool stuff. You know, these guys coming up with ideas that, you know, like once again, I didn't suggest it or do anything to make that happen. Like, it's really cool when this stuff comes into my feed. I'm like, oh, that's dope. Oh, wait, that's ours. Okay, cool. You know, like, I even saw one time this cover of a book that, you know, we're publishing. I saw it for the first time on a Reddit post, and I was like, I didn't know, that cover was released yet. You know, it's been a cool experience. But yeah, Autolus will launch on Tuesday.
Cool.
And I'm really excited too, because I'm actually traveling during that day. So one of the things that we're really hoping, you know, for the next 12 months is, you know, growing this thing so that more and more stuff can happen without me necessarily at the helm, right? There's so much talent and so many folks with great leadership capacity in this group, you know, that you know, I think a lot of the folks that have published comics with, you know, with me for the first time, they're gonna eclipse, you know, what I'm capable of, you know, in 5-10 years. You'd be like, oh my gosh, you know, these people are so capable and so talented. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, I'll be out of the country for that launch, you know, and just kind of see like how it goes without me. I'm pretty excited.
Very cool.
Where are you going, if you don't mind me asking?
Going to Amsterdam with my wife. So I'm pretty excited. You know, we're going to cut loose. My in-laws were like, you going to take the kids? We were like, absolutely not. They're going to your place. So.
Yeah. Do you get to, like, seeing as how you're in the military, did you get stationed in a bunch of different places? Like, or you stayed mostly in the U.S., or were you overseas a lot? Or was that like a big part of being in the military? You were stationed in different places in the world, or?
I didn't get to go. I got to go to a lot of very boring places. But yeah, like a couple of cool places. You know, Korea was amazing. You know, the Kuwait, not so much. You know,
no,
there's not much to do out there. You know, Afghanistan was a little dicey. So, but you know, but my wife gets to travel a lot as well. You know, I actually met her in the military, and then she got out, and then I got out a little bit after.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think I do credit it with giving me some more comfortability with, like, you know, working with people internationally and stuff like that, you know, and learning how to get over like language divides and stuff like that. But now all my travel is all just the fun places now.
All leisurely, yeah. Yeah. So it'll be your first time in Amsterdam, or have you already been there before?
This will be my first time. It'll be my wife's second time or third
okay.
time or something. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she was stationed in Germany in her 20s, so she had a great time without me.
There you go. Yeah, so she got better. She got stationed in better places than you then.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what other comics do you have coming out that are yours besides this the one you showed?
Yeah. So we'll do so Dead and Still Dying will be a continuing series. Deathwish will be a continuing series. Either Them or Us, we're trying to figure out, me and the illustrator, because he's working on a lot of other projects, to make sure that we can make that keep going at the right rate. And then actually, I don't think I've shared this with anybody yet.
Oh snap! Scoop.
So this one, 2 covers of it. Calm the Fuck Down is another comic that I'm working on. So this all happens in the same lesser known comics universe. The
short
cover,
stories.
Well, these are all 22-page issues.
Okay.
But that's kind of like what the collection will start looking like. And actually, the Dead and Still Dying version that hasn't come out, the standard cover will follow this kind of format. The all black with the iconography in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But yeah, those are the ones that keep me busy. And then that's those will be my ongoing titles, at least for the foreseeable future.
Well, that's a good number of titles.
Can you tell us what they're about a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So Either Them or Us is the samurais versus witches in 1980s Japan. These samurais witches, it's that where the rivalry has gone on so long that there is no good side anymore. So a lot of themes of revenge and kind of the futility of it.
Well, there's kind of a third party involved too, like a beast of some sort, kind of an alter beast, like at least in the first issue I read. So like that's kind of cool too, like kind of a third player that's kind of the main character ish. I'm sensing.
Yeah. So what we'll come to find out is, a little spoiler alert, that she's got a curse that comes with the that came from the witches. So she was one of their victims, and but that curse comes with power, and it's also all consuming in the fact that revenge can be an addicting thing, and it's a two-edged sword, right? So the more you use revenge to come after your enemies, the more it's going to consume you. So that's her struggle and her journey for that for that story.
Yeah, I dug it. It reminded me of Ron Mars comics from the 90s, man. Like, I don't know if you read like any of his old kind of ninja comics that Image put out, but kind of had that kind of flair to it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna pass that on to Franco. That'll make his day. Yeah, Franco's a great guy. He's who does all the illustration for it. So yeah, I think Dead and Still Dying we talked about was the kids that find the witch on a bender. It's loosely based on the hometown is like from a map is actually like based on my hometown, because they actually built a whole city behind my town of houses that they were going to sell off, but there was a problem with the city. They wouldn't allow those developers to sell the houses until they did a bunch of other stuff, built infrastructure to go along with it. So for years, there's these houses just sitting empty in the hills behind us, pitch black. There's no lights. There's, and they're like, kids, don't go in there, and it's like, well, of course we're going to go in there. Right. And just like, all sorts of mayhem. So that's kind of the setting in which, a lot of that story takes place, is these, prefab of, abandoned houses, in like, it's really sprawling suburbia. So easy to get lost in it too. So that's Dead and Still Dying. Calm the Fuck Down it's same characters, where that same witch from Dead and Still Dying, we catch her in a different point of time, and she's dropped her spell books all over exciting locations like Morocco, and she's got to go back and get them. Because even though she's a witch like us, like she's taken every shortcut, like we probably wouldn't be like, oh, let's get hella good at witchcraft right away. We'd probably be like, let's like tackle immortality, getting wealthy, and some other like fun joyride stuff.
So basically, this book is, you created this book so you can travel and have it be a business expense and write it off.
There you go.
Because if she drops books all over the place, like I got to go to Morocco and research this, it's got to be accurate,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Now you're cooking with gas there, man. We've actually, it's all based on that. That main character, Danny. She's on the cover of this one. This is our lesser known comics number 7. She's our Wolverine of our universe, right? She's the one that's been around, and the sidekicks that get dragged along on her journeys are always running into somebody who's got a vendetta. So that's kind of the plot device that we use to tie in all the spin-off stories, but she's the common thread that pulls it together.
Cool. Nice. So you have quite a few irons in the fire then for to keep you busy for quite some time to come.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work, but these guys and gals make it exceedingly easy. I'm just astounded at what illustrators can do, because I'm only writing, and I give my scripts it can be anything from an actual Word document to a string of incoherent text messages that I send to Kieran, the creator of Deathwish, and then there's and what they come up with, it just always blows me away. And what's been exciting as well is like learning to write to their strengths, where I can write something where I'm like, I know they're gonna have a great time with this, and I think that feeds into it seems like a lot of work. It seems like I'm doing a lot of things, but it's really, I feel more like a gardener, just like trying to make sure the soil's right and get out of everybody's way and let them grow.
Good. Johnny, man, do you have anything else you wanted to touch on?
Just that, man, like definitely go check out Lesser Known Comics. They got so much great stuff out now. Got so much more great stuff coming out in the near future. Like a lot of our friends are going to be having like a lot of work coming out from them soon. Plus, other people that have been on the show, like David Lahan. He got a lot of really good books at Lesser Known. All his work so far has been at your studio, right? So, and he's incredible. But definitely, if you need to get your teeth sunk into this studio, go on the site and just get Deathwish, and you'll be sold, man. That book is just so much damn fun. Like it is a total blast on paper, and you just do yourself a favor and get immersed in this wonderful universe that Mark's building here with a lot of other really talented creators. Like he said, it's like a total collective. A lot of people coming, a lot of people going, but a lot of people just making cool shit while they're hanging around. So like there is nothing but goodness that I heard tonight. So like, if this isn't something that piques your interest, there might be something a little wrong with you, in my opinion, man. Like, give Lesser Known Comics a peek. Hit up their website. I got the link in the description. We got the links to all the Kickstarters in the description. We got Bigfoot Knows Karate, Hinagon.
Yep.
Hinagon. That one's running right now. I think it has 9 days left. You have Wasteland. I think that one has 2 weeks left. And Deuces Are Wild. That one just started this morning. From what you were saying, you launched that at 10 o'clock this morning. So that one's fresh off the presses, man. The campaign's just hit Kickstarter. So you guys can go check that one out as well.
I gotta see how it's doing. So But yeah, and then the other thing too is to creators out there and stuff like that is like definitely don't be a stranger. Um, you know, um, you don't need to publish with us to access our resources, and if there's anything that we can do to help people, if you're making indie comics, um, whether you've just done one short thing or you've done a bunch of stuff, like you're part of this family. So definitely don't be a stranger. Reach out. You can always pick our brains. You can always ask for help on anything.
Autolease is launching next Tuesday. So for people looking out, so you can go sign up for the pre-launch page there. And another one you guys have a pre-launch up for is CyberSync, which will be should be launching shortly in the near future. So those are two others you can sign up to the pre-launch pages that'll be upcoming as well.
The next 2 weeks, yeah, on Tuesdays, I believe Mark said.
Yep.
And then this will be coming out physically soon, and you'll probably be able to get it on the website. Like, this is a lot of fun. A lot of really good, talented people just doing really cool, short punk rock stories. And, everybody loves Rancid, so get it for the cover at least, man.
You did a really nice variant cover for one of the cons you went to. Which con was it?
Oh, that was for San Diego Comic-Con.
What, it was for San Diego? Yeah, that was a pretty cool cover. I enjoyed that variant cover. That
You
you
did
guys
the Minor
done.
Threat one, or the version of it, or?
Well, it was the one with the guy.
Jay does so many Minor Threat references, so it's like there's so because Jay did the cover. So yeah, it's probably a Minor Threat reference. I know of all his other Minor Threat references. Like, he puts them so many places. I didn't catch that one.
Yeah. So yeah, man. Like Johnny said, go check out the website. Go check out the Kickstarters that are running now. Bigfoot Knows Karate, Wasteland, and Deuces Are Wild are all running right now on Kickstarter. So go check those out. Back those books because they look pretty fucking awesome, man. If anything, you know how to find some great illustrators, man. You got a good eye for talent, and man, so just keep bringing out the hits, and I'm sure you won't have any problems with any of your books in the future for the Kickstarters. Like you said, you guys have a really good track record, and hopefully you guys can keep it going.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm exceedingly proud of this group. Just the besides being extremely talented, I just can't express like how encouraging it is. To go, like, I'll wake up in the morning and because I'll see the DM feed them in the group chat, and just watching these folks just like supporting each other and helping each other, and like everything from art tips to like where they can get the cheapest prices for screen printing things and stuff like that, or whatever. It's so rewarding to see that kind of stuff every day. So
cool. Before we sign off, is there anyone or anything else you want to give a shout out to that maybe we hadn't touched on during the episode?
I know someone's gonna be like, Mark, why didn't you know? No, I would say, yeah, best way to keep a hold of us is just on Instagram at Lesser Known Comics, and then on Twitter at Lesser K Comics is the best we could do. And yeah, like everything that's coming out. And yeah, like I said, don't be a stranger. Reach out, anytime. Fan or creator or whatever. Yeah, we don't bite.
Well, man, thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you. And looking forward to checking out all these future Kickstarters you've got coming out. So, yeah, Johnny, man, what you have any last words?
Yeah, Friday we're gonna be doing our crossover with For One Night Only. We're gonna be co-streaming it, so it's gonna be available on our channel and on L's. So like, you can watch it wherever. It's gonna be rad. It's gonna be chaos. We're gonna be talking about superstition on Friday the 13th. So it's going to be whatever. It's going to be a phono episode. So I can't
Yeah,
wait. For that.
yeah.
And, Sunday, we're going to be doing our second episode of the Sunday Spank. We're going to have our hominy Matt Spanky on. We're going to be talking about book 2, deluxe book 2 of Deadly Class. That's the next 3 arcs basically. And it's going to be
Roughly, yeah.
it's going to be a lot of fun. Right? We're going to be talking about a lot of changeover. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you guys haven't read the book, I hope you maybe read it along with us, or because it's going to be a fun adventure. It's a great book, and we'll see you then. Till then, take it easy, y'all.